Hello again, guys and gals. We're back to work on the Revolver. I think the end of the last video was probably January because we were talking about how cold it was outside. Well, now it's April and it's very rainy here. We're about to drown. It's rained so much in the last 2 days, and we have rain all weekend in the forecast. All week, anyway, till Friday. Anyway, this thing is completely finished except for mounting the engine and cutting the cowl and then balancing it. Getting ready to do that now. I have motor mount mounted up to the firewall. Do not put Loctite on it at this time because you need to take the motor mount back off to drill the holes in the drill press, which is a whole lot easier than doing it by hand and get them straight. But anyway, excuse me. Most of these kits call for drilling and tapping into the plastic motor mounts, which I have done a couple times on the 40 size. But I actually prefer to drill all the way through and put bolts with lock nuts on the back side. You can still drill it and tap it and thread it through there, but you put a lock nut on the back side with a washer, and that's just a little extra insurance. I've never had an engine come loose, so it seems to work good. Another little trick I don't know, some of you may not know about. Take you a little flat stock board. This is, I don't know, maybe I don't know if it's quarter inch, probably quarter inch thick, inch and a quarter wide, or inch and an eighth wide. Center your hole, drill a hole in it, and bolt it on there like a prop. Then it makes it very easy to put your ruler against the firewall while pushing this over to it. Then you can get an exact measurement right to the millimeter or the 16th. This is 5 inches and 11/16 from the firewall, and on this particular plane you'd have no slack on the cowl. It fits in this little groove right here, so you have no slack to slide it forwards or backwards before you drill your holes. That's where it has to go. So that's very important on this particular model. Get your engine exactly where it goes for your clearance on the front of the cowl. Anyway, we've got the motor measured and all clamped up in the motor mount. I use 2 clamps on it to hold it in place. I have the Great Plains center punch thingy that makes the holes perfectly straight, and it's made to do with your fingers. It's just kind of tough. I found that if you put it in a drill, it makes fast work of it to drill your pilot holes. Keeps them perfectly straight, and then you can take it back off and put your motor mount in the drill press. My battery on my drill was dead. I forgot to charge it, so anyway, I'm waiting on it to charge, and as soon as it does, we'll get these holes drilled, and I'll get a little bit more video finishing this thing up, and then we'll go cutting the cowl. And after we do that, we'll get it balanced, and it'll be ready to fly if we can ever get rid of this rain. May have to put some pontoons on it. Alright, here we go. Well, back to mounting the engine. Here's my little Great Plains center hole locator, I think they call it. It has a little drill bit inside of it. This little funnel thing right here fits in the hole in the engine block, and then when you put pressure on it, that drills into the motor mount. It's made spring loaded to do it by hand with these little knurled handles, but I have found that if you put it in this drill, tighten it down in there, that it works much better. Anyway, we've got the holes drilled, so now we will pull the engine back off and get the holes drilled through in the motor mount. Okay, now I have the motor mount back off of the firewall, and you can see how that locator makes 2 perfect little pilot holes, and it makes it so easy. You put it in a drill press, you can drill your hole straight through there. I put this on a block of wood, which I'll show you here in just a second. Alright, now I just have I keep a couple of little scrap 2x2 blocks of wood laying around. As you can see, it works great. Drill through, that way you don't hit anything. It also supports the back side of whatever you're drilling in. Put your piece on here and hold it flat and steady while you're drilling your hole, and it makes it a lot easier. Alright, now we've got our holes drilled, and you can see all the way through. And I like to go all the way through so I can put my lock nuts. And I just use a little pair of vice grips to put my tap in to tap the hole. And I'll just start in there and spin it around, thread them through. Okay, we now have the engine mounted to the firewall with flat washers and lock washer, and also Loctite. You need everything on here you can. Don't take any chances. I've never had an engine come loose, but I know people that have, and you lose a whole plane over it really bad because it comes down hard. But anyway, always use Loctite on your bolts if they're going into metal to reinforce it. Do not use Loctite on bolts that are going to be threaded into plastic, because the Loctite deteriorates the plastic and actually makes it come loose. So on these, I drilled and tapped 632 all the way through. I put a flat washer and a lock washer on this side to keep this from working loose, and a flat washer and a lock nut on the lower side. There's no way that engine's ever going to come off of this thing, I promise you. So take precaution. Don't put Loctite on your lock nuts either, because they have a nylon insert. The Loctite will also eat that up, so you do not need Loctite on those. Anyway, got the engine mounted up. We'll get the fuel lines hooked up and set the linkage on the throttle and start working on the cowl. Okay, I got my fuel line hooked up. Got my fuel filter mounted. I like these little Dubro brand. They come with a little bracket. That stem on that just fits perfect in that extra hole in that motor mount, but you can make a little Y or a horseshoe to bolt it to the firewall. It works good too. I don't like my fuel filters vibrating around. Anyway, got that part done. We're fixing to put the cowl on and mark it. Most of you probably already know this, but here's some good little tricks. Take you some paper, cut you some strips. Just use the small ones like this for the cowl mounting screws, which will go right here in these little blocks of wood. I've got it marked. I'll just drill right through that paper into that, and then when you slide your cowl on, you slide it up there, tape it in place, drill right into the cowl. You got it marked. Same thing up here. This one has a needle valve that slants backwards on this, which I like, keeps you away from the prop. Take your piece of paper, slide it down over the cable before you tape it down. Try to get your angle. This cowl slopes slightly downward toward the front, so try to get your angle that it's going to slope, which mine ends up being about right there. So I marked it, I poked the hole there, marked it with a Sharpie, and then taped it to the top of the fuselage. Then I can take this out, same thing, slide the cowl on, get them in place, and then pull this down, drill a hole, and then enlarge it to where I need it. Over here, if you do the engine head, excuse me, this head is not going to protrude out of the cowl, so all I need is a small nickel size hole, or slightly larger, for the glow plug or glow starter to go on. So what I've done, I used this wide piece of paper, marked my cowl holes where they need to be drilled, taped it down. Then I poked the paper onto the nipple of the glow plug, which centers it. That gives me a center point on my cowl. If this was an engine that was going to stick out of the cowl, which they do on a lot of planes, what I usually do, 9 times out of 10, if you take the head off, the top of the cylinder is just almost flush with this. So you can take that head off, lay this piece of paper on there, and draw around it, and then slide your cowl on, put your paper down on the cowl, and trace it, cut it out, and then you can adjust it as needed. On this one, I don't need to cut the full head out, so all I'm going to do is just use this little hole and cut a little nickel size hole right there. But if you did want to cut it for the engine head, you can do it like this, and then just kind of push the edges around, crease it, and then I'll mark that with a Sharpie and cut slightly outside that line, and then fit it on and off until I get just the right amount of space. Usually most of mine come out really nice and clean, and I have a minimal extra space around there just so it doesn't vibrate against the head. So anyway, hope that helps you out. We'll get these cut out and get the cowl on it, and I'll get back in a minute.